What is up, guys? This is Nightmare, and today I got a new build video for you. This is my new Magicka Nightblade, so I finally decided to update my Magicka Nightblade build after a very long time. Used to be a bomb blade, used to be a Magicka Nightblade healer for PvE. Now I have converted it over to a PvP beast. The name of this build is Nox Aterna, which was the original name of the Nightblade healer. This is the new Nox Aterna. This is for the Morrowind patch, and if you were wondering, Nox Aterna roughly translates to the Eternal Night, so it's pretty freaking badass. Um, Along with being a freaking powerhouse out in Cyodiil, non-CP and CP, this build performs great, and you also get to look freaking sick with this new armor style. So, let's get right into the armor sets that I am wearing. Alright, so starting off here, our Destro staff is going to be a Inferno staff. Now, the reason why we go for Inferno is because one of our Destro staff passives gives us an extra single target damage with when we have a Destro staff ability. Now, for the enchant, I am currently not using an enchant on my main bar simply because I want to get a little bit more sustain, and how I can do that, instead of using an enchant, I can use a poison. So the poison I'm using are these, the Drain Magicka poison. So you increase the cost of your enemy's magic abilities, but you also get Magicka back. So this is a great way to get more sustain with your Magicka builds. So going back to the Destro staff, I'm using an Inferno staff of Transmutation. Now the reason why I went with Transmutation is because it's cheaper. The second set I'm running, the Inferno staff for that, runs for like 350,000. It's a new set, it's very expensive. So a cheaper alternative is just to use the Transmutation set and then just play around with our armor pieces. So Transmutation sharpens. You definitely want sharpened on the front bar. That's going to give you the most damage output, as this is your main DPS bar. So Transmutation, why am I running this on a Magicka Nightblade? First off, it gives 2 and 3 piece magic recovery, so it's very similar to like Marksman or Eternal Hunts or your stamina based sets that give you 2 and 3 piece recovery. So that's nice. I definitely like the 2 and 3 piece bonus. Helps you sustain a lot better. And I'm fairly new to Magic builds. I haven't played one in a while, so I'm still a little rusty at it, but I've been getting better with practice, which you'll be able to see later in gameplay. So 4 pieces spell critical. This is nice on Nightblades, especially because we get bonuses to spell or crit chance and crit damage. Now the 5 piece. Whenever you use a healing over time ability, your crit resistance goes way up. As you can see, 1259, which this will be increased if you have it golded out, and that stays up for 20 seconds. This buff never goes down in the middle of a fight, especially since our main spammable DPS ability also works as a heal over time. So that is my Destro staff. I already explained the poisons. Now we are also using a Restless staff of Transmutation. Now this is where I keep my weapon damage enchant. I can proc this before I engage, or just to get a little bit extra spell damage. And then we got a Defending staff. This is your main defensive bar. Whenever you go to your Restless staff bar, you're probably going to be taking a lot of heat, a lot of damage, a lot of burst, so that extra resistance on the Restless staff bar is important. Again, Transmutation already explains the set bonuses. Alright, so let's get off to the juicy part of the build, the amazing War Maiden set. Now, why is War Maidens such a good set, and why am I using it on a Magicka Nightblade? Well, Magicka Nightblade has everything they do is magic damage. They don't really have, for PvP, they don't really have any elemental damage like a Magic Sword has. They use Force Pulse, they use Endless Fury. Their only 2 magic abilities magic damage abilities are their Crystal Frags and their Curse, which this will make them hit really hard, but their Force Pulse and their Execute isn't going to hit as hard. Magic Decays, they got all fire damage. Magicka Templars, they got a little bit of fire damage, a little bit of magic damage, but Magicka Nightblade has more magic damage abilities. And then, of course, Magic Wardens also have a lot of magic damage abilities. But this set is great on Magicka Nightblades. So, as you can see, 2 pieces more spell critical. Very nice. More spell critical, more damage output, especially on Nightblades, like I said before. 3 pieces of max magic. This is nice since we haven't had any max magic bonuses yet. And then our 4 piece is a little bit of spell damage. And then the 5 piece is the best part. 386 spell damage to your magic damage abilities. Now, golds, these stats would be a little bit higher. You'd get around 400 spell damage to magic damage abilities if this was gold. Magic damage enchants, and we are also wearing Impin. 5 Impin, 2 Divines with this build. I find that to be the best setup. Chest is going to be also War Maiden's Impin Magic Enchant, and then my one-piece monster set is a Divine's Heavy Molakina Shoulder. Now, I went with Heavy, so I can get a little bit of extra health, and then I can also run a 6 light, 1 heavy setup. With this armor setup, you can't get a 5-1-1, because both of your 5-piece sets are the light armor sets. So I wanted to get a little bit of extra resistance, which I can get from a heavy shoulder. Ideally, this would be good on a head or chest, or you can't get a Kina chest, so heavy wouldn't go on the chest, but the head would. You could run a heavy Kina head helmet, but I just think the War Maiden's hat is too good looking. So I put the Kina shoulder on, which is Divine's, and this is just going to give us extra spell damage. I left this with the health enchant just to give me a little bit of extra health, so I'm not too squishy. And the reason why we went with a heavy piece instead of a medium is because heavy just gives, like I said, more resistance, and it gives us a little bit more max health and percentage with heavy armor passives. Belt is going to be a Divine's Transmutation, Magicka Enchant, War Maiden's Impin Magicka Enchant Gloves, War Maiden's Impin Magicka Enchant Legs, and War Maiden Impin Magicka Enchant Boots. And then, of course, for our jewelry, we are wearing the rest of our Transmutation set. These are all arcane, 2 spell damage, 1 magic recovery. I find that to be best with the sustain I need right now. Since I'm fairly new to Magicka DPS and just getting back into it, I went with the Magicka recovery. If you feel like you don't need it, definitely go ahead and put a spell damage enchant on that there. You'll be able to do more damage, you'll have less recovery, but if you can sustain your Magicka better than I can, which you probably will be able to if you've been playing Magicka Nightblade or Magicka Sorcerer for a very long time, go ahead and do that. Alright, so let me go over consumables real quick, or slottable items. Let me do my food first. So, first off, I was playing with this, the max health, max magicka, and I was using this in CP campaign, and it worked great. My sustain wasn't hurting too much because I was getting champion points, and then when I was doing non-CP, I was using this food for a little bit extra magic recovery because I was hurting a lot more in non-CP. Now I am using, of course, Witch Mother's Potent Brew. There's just no better choice. This is the best of these two. And it lasts twice as long. So you're going to get max magicka, max health, and magicka recovery. And this performs better than both of these in the playstyle I said before. Okay, so potions. I use Detect Pots to counter Nightblades. I use Immovability Pots. This is just to help me stay alive a little bit better. An issue I have is dodge rolling too much or breaking CC and I run out of stamina just because I'm used to a big stamina pool. So the Immovability Pots definitely help a lot. This gives you immune to knockback for 12 seconds. Major Prophecy is going to increase our spell critical by 10% and then restore magicka. So I'm using the Immovability Pots and the Detection Pots. switching off between those, whichever I need. And then I believe that covers gear, slottable items, and potions. So next I'm going to explain my abilities. Alright guys, so for the most important part of the build is your skill layout for your Magicka Nightblade. Now, there are lots of different combinations of things you can run, different layouts, and I've been playing around with a lot of things. For dueling, I have one setup I was using and I was crushing in duels with it. And then for like open world, I have a little bit of different setup. So let me explain what I've been running recently with open world, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm doing differently in duels. Alright, so first off, our main spammable ability is going to be Swallow Soul. Now, this is bread and butter for Magicka Nightblade. Melee Magicka Nightblades don't really use this, they'll use concealed weapons, but I just feel like you're missing out on a lot of healing if you don't use Swallow Soul on a Magicka Nightblade. I'm using Swallow Soul just because I want increased healing received. Being in 6 light armor pieces, I'm a little bit squishier, so I want that extra incoming healing for myself. However, the other morph, which is Funnel Health, would probably be better in group situations. Alright, so this ability gives us a single target magic damage, which is going to get buffed by War Maiden. And for the damage it does, it heals you for 25%. So this gets buffed by your pretty much your champion points, whatever you have laid out, like Master at Arms is single target damage. So your healing is going to be based off of your damage done, pretty much. So the more damage you can do with this ability, the more healing you will be receiving. Next, we got Merciless Resolve. This is also a must-have ability for Magicka Nightblade. By the way, guys, I am in non-CP campaign right now, so if you're wondering why these numbers are so low, that is the reason. I will also show, if you guys want, I'll show the stats, the ability tooltips for champion point campaign, and then I'll also show my max stats at the end of the video. Merciless Resolve, excuse me. This is going to buff our damage by 8% for 20 seconds, all of our damage, minor berserk. And then the most important part is the Spectral Bow. This is what you combo with on a Magicka Nightblade. Like a sorcerer will use Curse and Endless Fury or whatever. Magicka Nightblades, you will be able to proc a very hard-hitting Magicka damage single target ability. Now, the way you can proc this bow is by light attack or heavy attacking 5 times. Now, the way you want to do your light attacks or heavy attacks is you weave them in between your Swallow Soul. So you're going to light attack, and then you're going to press your Swallow Soul. Light attacking in between every ability is going to help get your Merciless Resolve proc more often. Now for my hard CC on this bar, I'm running Mass Hysteria currently. Right now I don't have a Destro Staff ability on the bar, so I'm not getting that buff from there. However, I will be using the Destro Staff Ultimate to get that buff once I get my Destro Staff to level 50. So Mass Hysteria. Now the reason why I use this is just because it's the strongest crowd control ability in the game. Like I explained in my past Stamina Nightblade videos, this is just way overpowered to not use. This can fear 3 enemies, so you can stun 3 enemies. It's used on defense. You can use it offensively to combo with your Merciless Resolve proc, and you impale. It goes through block. It's just a must-have ability. Now Impale. Impale I have slotted just because this is your main execute. So just like my Stamina Nightblade uses Reverse Slicer Executioner, we're using Impale. This has a very long range execute, so you're able to stay at range. You don't have to worry about getting in close to execute. You just throw your freaking Impale at them. If they're at 25% health or less, this kills them. This is another what I feel like a must-have ability. As soon as you're able to burst your enemy down to, or your target down to 25% health with your Swallow Souls whittling away at them, and then your Merciless Resolve proc, Spectral Bow, if they get down to 25% health, if they're not healing or they're not stacking shields, if you hit them with an impale, they're dying. Now, Structured Entropy. The reason why I'm using Structured Entropy is just to get a little bit more max health on the main bar, 6%, which I believe goes up even higher to like 8% if the ability was level 5. Now, Structured Entropy is our major sorcery buff. This is our main buff we need to keep up when we go into a fight. Spell damage by 20%. Without this, we're going to hit like a wet noodle. Also, this is pretty nice because we get a little bit of healing over time and with this, and you can stack this on an unlimited amount of enemies. So if you get into a 1vx or you're taking on multiple enemies, throw this on every single one of them if you can. This will give you more healing to yourself, along with your your Swallow Soul stacking. So that is nice. Ultimate I'm running right now is Soul Harvest. Now this is melee, but how I like to use it is if anybody charges me, I can Mass Hysteria them, Soul Harvest, and then either if they're high health, Swallow Soul, Spectral Bow, or Impale, which you'll see how I combo all these abilities later down in the rest of the video when I show gameplay. So Soul Harvest, major defile to the enemy, and it also hits very hard, and increases your damage done to the target by 20% also. Next, we got our Restless Staff Bar. Now, Healing Ward is going to be a very strong ability, and it's going to buy you time. Whenever you switch to this bar, if you're low on Magicka, just pop your Healing Ward. That usually gives you enough time to be able to put a fully charged heavy attack from your Restless Staff, which gives you quite a bit of Magicka back. And then you'll be able to cast other abilities or go back to the Restless Staff bar and start healing yourself back up with Swallow Soul. The best defense for a Magicka Nightblade is a strong offense, as you can see with our main spammable DPS ability healing us. If you stay defensive for too long on a Magicka Nightblade, you're doing it wrong. The best way to stay alive is to stay offensive. The only time we're going to cast this if we're super low or we need to put up a shield to avoid high burst. So next we got Mirage. Mirage is just a very strong buff to use on a Magicka Nightblade. I don't see myself not using this ability. This is going to give us 15% dodge chance, so just like Shuffle, but this is going to be a Magicka based ability. And then it's also going to increase our armor and spell resistance by 1320 for 26 seconds. The minor buff, so we can stack that with the major buff. The major buff we get by using shadow abilities, so if we cast Mass Hysteria or if we cast Cloak. So our resistance can get pretty high even though we are in light armor. Now this ability slot right here is a flex slot. Right now I'm currently using Crippling Grasp. I like the dot, the immobilization. It's a soft CC, so you're able to root enemies down, you can catch up to them. It's also nice because you get Major Expedition right there, 30% increased move speed. So this just helps you stick to targets a little bit easier and catch up to them and lock them down, make them dodge roll. You can soft CC them as you're on your defensive bar. I kind of like to cast this right before I go back to offense, because if someone's on you and they're gap closing you or sticking on you really hard and you want to create distance, the best way to do that is to hit them with a soft CC. A hard CC or a soft CC, really. However, if they have hard CC immunity, it doesn't matter, since Crippling Grasp can be applied non-stop, or the immobilization. So this just creates space, it applies a dot, and it gives you movement speed to help get away. So that's why I'm using that. And then Leeching Strikes. Now, the reason why you want to run Leeching Strikes on a Magicka Nightblade, now this restores stamina on light attacks. And you would think, why wouldn't I use the other morph, which is siphoning attacks that restores Magicka? This will give me more Magicka sustain. Um, that is true, but I feel like you could already get enough Magicka sustain through other sources. And what you're lacking is stamina sustain. If you're dodge rolling, being hard CC'd, if you get drained from stamina, you're gonna die pretty quickly. Especially since that's what I'm having a hard time doing right now, is sustaining my stamina, and this is helping a lot. Light attacks are going to restore health, so another great heal, and this is also going to give us stamina on light attacks. So more break frees, more dodge rolls. You don't have to worry about getting hard CC'd and not being able to break out of it most of the time if you're able to keep this up for a very long duration. Alright, so next up we have Dark Cloak. Now, I've seen some Magicka Nightblades not running this anymore, and it's just because it's a buggy ability. They'll use like Shadow Image, which I do use sometimes. I've been practicing with it. They could use like Refreshing Path here, Path of Darkness morph to Refreshing Path. But I still like Dark Cloak. Now the reason why is I feel like it has more utility. Like I'm able to go invisible before a fight or after a fight, whatever. And I can cast this for a very long time since I have a big Magicka pool and I have lots of Magicka sustain. This is also a shadow ability. This is going to give me major resistance, and it gives me minor protection for 2 seconds, which reduces damage taken by 8%. The duration for minor protection should also go up as I level Dark Cloak. So even if you're on your defensive bar and you're trying to get away, you cast your Dark Cloak, but they're still sticking on you. You got a Stamina Sword with Hurricane on your back. If you cast this and you can't stealth, don't try to keep spamming it. You cast it once, you're going to get your major resistance buffs, you're going to get minor protection. That's going to make you tanky enough for just a few seconds to either reapply your buffs, Leeching Strikes and Mirage, cast a Healing Ward to help you stay alive, get a heal, a burst heal, and a ward on you. And then you can also apply Crippling Grasp to them, root them. If they want to keep chasing you, they're going to have to dodge roll out of the route. You're also going to get your Major Expedition, put a dot on them, and then you can turn on them and start pressuring them down fast with Swallow Soul, being able to get yourself healed back up, and they'll have to go defensive on you. Next up, we got our ultimate, which is Light's Champion. Now, I'm using this just because it's very cheap, 100 ultimate. It gives us a nice heal, good group utility, and it gives major protection and major force. So this is going to give 15% increased crit damage and then 30% reduced damage. I just feel like this is a very strong defensive ability, and it also does a lot of group utility in Battlegrounds. So that is my ability layout. And next I'll go through my passives real quick. Okay guys, so I'm going to explain passives. Now, for your passives on a Magicka Nightblade, it's very important on how you lay out your abilities on which bar, because you get certain buffs based on what type ability you are using. For example, you get extra spell critical for each assassination ability. You get extra health for each shadow ability on your bar. And then you want to make sure you get your increased max Magicka by 8% for having a siphoning ability on each bar. So you have to keep that in mind as you do that. And then you also get increased healing done for each siphoning ability on your bar. So balancing each ability to each bar is very important on Magicka Nightblade. That's why I have these abilities laid out the way I do. So first off, let me go over Assassination. Master Assassin increases spell damage by 10% when in stealth. Now, this is good for ganking, and if you're like a Bomb Blade or ganking on a Stand Blade, this is good. However, I'm not really doing a lot of ganking, so I'm not really opening from stealth. Executioner. This is going to just give us Magicka sustain. So as you can see, almost 2,000 Magicka over 6 seconds. And this is going to be able to proc if we blow someone up with Merciless Resolve, because that is a assassination ability, or Impale or Execute. So we have 2 ways to finish our target and get more Magicka back. Pressure points increases our spell critical rating for each assassination ability. We got 2 on this bar, and we got 1 on this bar. However, we don't need as much crit chance on our Restless Staff bar as we do on our main DPS bar. And then Hemorrhage, this is a must-have ability, passive. It's very strong, and this is why we can spec into more crit chance on a Nightblade. Critical damage done by 10%. And then we also get minor savagery, but that doesn't really apply to us. So crit damage by 10%. So the hard cap on crit resistance is about 34 to 3,500. However, that's if the damage or the crit has no multipliers to crit damage. So even if we're going up against a target that has 3,400 crit resistance, our crits definitely aren't going to hit us hard, but they're going to hit harder than others since we have increased crit damage with Hemorrhage passives and then also champion points. Next, we got the Shadow passives. So Refreshing Shadows, this is going to help us sustain. Shadow Barrier, this is what I was talking about. Whenever you cast a Shadow ability, Mass Hysteria or Cloak will get resistance. And then this is another really good passive to have. This is how you want to kind of organize your bars. I have 1 shadow ability on each bar to kind of help balance that out a little bit. Max health is really good because we do have such low health already with light armor and low resistance. Dark Veil just increases duration on our shadow abilities. Now, siphoning abilities. Catalyst is very good. I was able to, as you'll see in a clip later, or clips in next videos of Battlegrounds with this build. Drinking potions gives you ultimate, so I didn't have enough ultimate to use an ability or use my ultimate, and I was in a very sticky situation. I needed to use my Restless Staff ultimate, so I just drank a junk potion. It gave me just enough ultimate to cast my Lights Champion, and I was able to clutch a very important fight. Magicka Flood. Now we need a siphoning ability on each bar. We got Leeching Strikes and Crippling Grasp on this bar. We only needed 1. But then we also got Swallow Soul on our main bar. Increase healing done by 3%, so we get 3% more healing done on our main bar, and then 6% on our Restless Staff bar. And then whenever you cast a siphoning ability, more ultimate. Alright, so Desert Staff. I don't have this fully leveled yet, but if you had a Desert Staff ability on your bar, you get increased single target damage. And then your Penetrating Magic just helps you hit harder, reduce going through resistance. And then fully charged heavy attacks with Flame do 12% increase more damage. For dueling and for certain situations, I'll take off Mass Hysteria and I put on Destructive Clinch. So that is one way to get your increased single target damage. It's also a ranged hard CC. And it can apply dot and apply the fire dot. Restless Staff passives, these are all very important. I'm not really going to go into them though. One of them I will go into though real quick is that heavy attacks with a Restless Staff gives you more Magicka back. Which should... yeah, restores an additional 30% Magicka when you complete a heavy attack. So that one's very important to help you sustain. Light armor passives, we got all of these. We're in 6 light. And then heavy armor, I got 1 heavy, so I get 2% increased max health. Now we are a vampire. This is just going to give us increased magic and stam recovery. We get Undeath passive, which I think is nice. And then Dark Stalker, I just really liked the Dark Stalker passive for Nightblades in general. Fighter's Guild, we don't need anything from there. If you were a Mage's Guild 10 character, you can definitely use Meteor on your Desert Staff bar if you choose to. And then Undaunted passives. This is going to give us 4% increased health, Magicka, and stamina. Very nice. And then for racial choices. So, for my race, I went with Breton. I think Breton is just a very nice race for Magicka Nightblade, especially now that Sustain is a lot harder. We get 3% reduced cost on Magicka abilities. If you definitely want to go Vampire on your Nightblade, your Magicka Nightblade, you get almost 4,000 spell resistance, which does apply to fire damage, so you're not going to take as much fire damage. Now, this spell resistance does add up to be more resistance than a Dark Elf's resistance to fire, so remember that. And then 10% increased Magicka, max Magicka, so increased damage done pretty much. So that is all my passives. Alright, so I'm going to just show off my buff stats real quick for you guys, since you guys always like to see that. So I'm going to slot Rapid Regeneration on my Resto Staff. This is just going to give me heal over time to proc my Transmutation without needing a target to funnel health. Funnel health does proc Transmutation, by the way. Alright, so I'm just going to cast this and bar swap a couple times, and I should get the Transmutation buff since my health... There we go. Alright, so on my Desert Staff bar, just looking at my crit resistance here, in non-CP I have 2500 crit resistance. Again, this is non-CP. I have almost 3500 crit resistance in Champion Points campaign, which you guys will be able to see later. Alright, so fully buffed up here, out of stealth, since that's where we're going to be fighting the most. We have 2300 spell damage, 29,000 max Magicka, 22,000 health, and 2100 magic recovery. With my resistance fully buffed on the Resto Staff bar, I have almost 20,000 physical resistance and 26,000 spell resistance. That's after casting a shadow ability and keeping Mirage up on the defending Resto Staff bar. So one more time, this time on the Destro Staff bar, I have 15,000 physical and 21,000 spell. Alright, so let me go travel into a champion point area and I will show the buff stats again for you guys. Okay guys, so I'm now outside of Cyodiil and champion points are activated now. So let's check out my stats now. So first off, let's check my crit resistance. Once I get Transmutation to proc, there we go. Crit resistance, as you can see now, is 3,437. Very, very high. That is above the hard cap, I believe. So that is very good. Next, I'm going to show you guys my resistance. Fully buffed on the Resto Staff, we have 21,000 physical and 26,000 spell. That should be unchanged from champion points. 16,000 physical and 2,100 spell. And now fully buffed up on the Jester Staff bar, we have 2,300 spell damage, 34,000 max Magicka, almost 19,000 health. Remember that will be 5,000 more in Cyodiil. So I have about 23, almost 24,000 max health. And then 2,253 magic recovery. Also, we have 44% spell critical. Alright, so let me show you guys my champion point layout now. This is very important for Morrowind, since they changed it so much. So, starting off with our damage, 51 into Master at Arms. Now, something to keep in mind is jump points. You don't want to have wasted points based off of having a little bit of extra percentage. So, having 19% flat is great, no points are wasted. Let's say if I was to put one more point into Master at Arms, As you can see, next point in there in the green, 19.24, excuse me. Now, although I put 1 point in there, I will still only get the 19%. It gets rounded down, and it gets rounded down no matter what. You could be at 19.99%, and you'll still only get 19% damage boost from champion points. So please keep that in mind as you allocate your own champion points. So Master at Arms is very good on a Magicka Nightblade. We do all single target direct damage abilities besides our Crippling Grasp. So 19% increased damage on all those. We hit like a truck with Master at Arms. 36 Spell Erosion. This is where I throw all my leftover points as soon as I get a nice setup for my other ones. So as you can see, 13.01% to magic damage. So I'm not wasting a lot of points here. Only 0.01 is wasted. 40 into Elfborn for a 16.02% crit damage. So only 0.02 is wasted there. So far we are allocating our points very well. Now 19 into Plus, I waste a little bit more here, but I wanted the 5.22%, so 5% increased healing done, which is nice. And then 36 Spell Erosion for 3,117 spelled penetration. Next, let's go into Green Tree. So 20 into Tumbling for 9% reduced cost on dodge rolls. This can be good if you're getting snared or locked down with hard CC or soft CCs, or if you're just dodge rolling incoming damage or moving out of the way or whatever. But remember, you don't want to dodge roll too much with Magicka builds. 64 into Tenacity and 64 Arcness, so 13.01 to both of these. Again, not much points are wasted from jump points. 35 into Warlord. This is going to reduce the cost of break free by 14%. Very nice. Since our stamina pool is pretty low, although our stamina sustain is good with leeching strikes, if you're dodge rolling a little bit more than usual and you get hard CC, you want to have that extra reduced cost on break free. So 14% is very good. 27 into Siphoner for 7%. You're like stealing their enemies' stamina or magic recovery. This is like poisons built into champion points, pretty much is how I like to explain it. Next, we have the Red Tree. 27 to Quick Recovery, 7.7% healing received, very good. 49 and 49 into Elemental Defender and Hardy for 11% reduced damage all across the board. Now I say all across the board because Elemental Defender is Magic, Flame, Frost, and Shock, and Hardy is Physical, Poison, and Disease. So that's pretty much every damage type in the game. 20 into Thick Skins for 9% reduced dot damage. And then I have 11 into Light Armor Focus just to get a little bit of extra physical resistance since it's pretty low. It's lower than the spell resistance. So 1100 more physical resistance is nice. Unchained passive is good. The only stamina ability we have is our Leeching Strikes, or yes, Leeching Strikes. All this is very cheap. You pretty much can cast this for like 50 stamina after breaking CC. Alright, so back into the champion points. We got 34 into Resistance for an extra 900 crit resistance. And then 20 into Ironclad. Ironclad is the counter to Master at Arms, so 9% reduced direct damage taken. This champion point setup has been fine-tuned. As I made the builds, I didn't finalize on it yet, and I just finished tweaking the rest of the build today, and it is in its final form.
One way to communicate with yellows 101. Do you know where the way with the width is? I'm a yellow. One way to talk to other yellows and talk to Tarkin. Hello, yellows. Hey, it's that fucking bitch right here, the monkey motherfucker. Come here, pussy. Come here, pussy. Yeah. Now you about to. Where your bitch ass at, nigga? I'm a healer, boy. Oh, you're a pussy. You a pussy. You fucking Nightblade. Oh, you a pussy.
I hope you guys enjoyed the new Magicka Nightblade builds. More build videos will be coming soon to my channel. As you can see, I've been breaking off from the Stamina Nightblade. Still covering Nightblades with the Magicka, but of course, I have more builds to come. I got a Magicka Dragonite build almost completed, so that one will be out soon. And then I will be moving on to my Stamina Sorcerer, Stamina Dragonite, Stamina Templar, and then still working on leveling my Stamina Warden. And then after I get the Stamina Warden leveled, I will start leveling the Magicka Warden. And then I'm also going to be making a Magicka Sorcerer. So if you guys are looking forward to all those builds, please subscribe to the channel so you guys can be up to date with that. If you liked the new Magicka Nightblade build, please like. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. I try to always answer questions or talk to people if they have something to talk about. So with that, I will see you guys next time.